I did. Funny thing is, yes, I did. I never said those dark parts. Why? Because Bumpy and Bumpy's mom always told me that marriage stuff are never told to anybody else other than the household you're in. So according to Bumpy's mom, it was, if you're not able to solve it with Bumpy, come tell me. So I tell her, yes. So I've told Bumpy's mom. Bumpy's mom is like, oh, you're the one with the temper, reduce your temper. So I'd always fit into that. So if I know I have a temper, instead of speaking when angry, I'd speak the following day. If I always want to nudge something, instead of always asking, I'd just wait until it's an appropriate time and ask Bumpy.
I think those are admirable traits, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think you should not speak when you're in a heightened state, and it's always good to kind of take some time before you retort. But there's some dysfunction there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that's what I always did. So every time he'd hit me, I'd go back and maybe say, I'm the reason. Why? Bumpy says I'm the reason. Bumpy's mom also says I added to the reason why Bumpy was hitting me. So I'd always try and find out why. And I came to understand when Bumpy said, you're not being peaceful, it's because I found out he was cheating. In his head, I was not supposed to find out, but I found out. So finding out, questioning him, wanting answers, wanting accountability and all that, to him was not being peaceful. But that I found out later on. So this lady has come home, and believe it or not, Jules, I specifically told this lady, Bumpy says he wants somebody to be intimate with at this moment that I'm not. Let it be you. She's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. You're always here. You're always talking to Bumpy. Why not?
This is what you told her?
Yeah. Because now for me, what I was thinking is, if I gave Bumpy one specific constant person, the rest of the women would go. And I'd be able to control this woman. So in one way or another, I had the upper hand. I in fact, did not have an upper hand. So the baby came. She's been there 3 weeks. The baby has come.
What do you mean, living there?
She's been with us every single day.
Does she live there? What do you mean by with you?
She's there Monday to Friday or Monday to Wednesday.
Does she sleep in your matrimonial home?
Yes.
In whose bedroom?
She wouldn't sleep in the bedroom. Bumpy and I would sleep in the bedroom. She'd sleep in the mattress in the sitting room.
Okay.
She was there always. She would clean the house. She'd make me breakfast. She'd get me ready if I needed to go for a clinic, to make my nails. She was there.
You know why I was asking what was informing this? Because even as you're talking right now, it doesn't sound bad, but it's not something that you had agreed to.
Yes.
You're kind of doing this because your hands are tied. Because I know there are situations where, co-wives take care of each other.
Yes.
And it's something everyone is privy to. I know there are challenges there.
Yes.
Every side, everything. Monogamy has a flip side. Polyamory has a flip side.
Yeah.
Polyandry has a flip side. Like every side has a but.
Yeah.
But. So it's almost like, was Bumpy like, listen, I'm polyamorous, and she's going to come help us. Like, even when she's cooking, you're not saying, why are you cooking? You're only supposed to like sexually meet my husband's needs. What are you still doing here? Do you understand my question?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand what is this I'm listening to.
At this time, if she's cooking, I'm too pregnant to even stand on my feet. So I didn't mind. I didn't think about it. And then the funny thing is, she was there to satisfy Bumpy's sexual needs, but they were never, ever sexual in the 3 weeks that she was there until my delivery. Not a single day, because I was in the house all through, because I've taken maternity leave. So I'm there, I'm going nowhere. I'm swollen, I'm there. She was never intimate with him. But the thing is, she complained. She complained to me. She's like, why is Bumpy, even if I try, he'd always turn me down? And I'm like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. And it's not my place to talk to him. But I'd ask, do you want me to talk to him? And she's like, yeah. So I go back with a complaint I've been given by this woman to Bumpy. And Bumpy's like, no, I don't think I'm ready. But once I am, I know she's there. So I'm like, okay. So I asked Bumpy, you said you'd want someone. The someone is here. and you seem comfortable having her around. What do you want? She's like, no, since you're very much not able to do everything around the house, how about right now she just helps around? And I went back to this woman and told her exactly what Bumpy told me. And asked her, is that something you're okay with? And she's like, yeah. So that's the dynamic. That's what we had. So she'd come, go home to her house as she pleases. She'd stay over as long as she pleases. And even on the day that I went to hospital, now to deliver, she also was there. She took me to hospital together with Bumpy. And at that moment, of course, I'm not thinking about what they're doing at that point. I'm now here. It's me and my baby. My one role is to get this baby out of me safely and be also okay, you see? And that's what I did. Got into hospital, gave birth very well, my baby healthy. And on the day, I even called my mom, told my mom, your granddaughter is here. I also tried to get a hold of Bumpy, but since they had left hospital very late, I guessed he was asleep. So I called Bumpy and I couldn't get him. So I called this lady. I'm like, tell Bumpy his daughter is here. And since I was tired, I just hung up and went to sleep. They were also the first ones to come see the baby together. And I thought nothing about it now, because even after leaving hospital, my role was ensure you have enough breast milk, ensure you're eating enough, you're taking enough fluids. I didn't have time to think outside of that. So one day, my healing after pregnancy, after giving birth, was very, very fast. I had no tears, no nothing major. So one day, I'm asking Bumpy, we've gone for our check, the 6-week check. I'm good. So I asked Bumpy on our way back, when are we starting action again? It's like, the doc has just released you. Just give it time, give it time. I also feel like you're very delicate. So let me understand you a little bit. And I was like, okay, makes sense. This whole time, this other lady is also still complaining they're not intimate. It's been now almost a month and a half. She's been home, no intimacy. And Bumpy made her vow her faithfulness to Bumpy.
This is so bizarre.
So this lady cannot get sex anywhere else except from Bumpy. And Bumpy is not giving her sex. So she's wondering, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? And she didn't mind because she'd help around the child with my daughter. I never had to move. If my daughter cried and she was in the crib, she'd wake up, give me the child. My thermos was filled with uji, water, food, everything.
Was Bumpy and you catering to her financial needs as well?
No.
Did she have a job?
Yes, she worked online, so she'd work there, finish work, all that. She did everything in our household, especially after my daughter came. Everything.
Was she also around your age? Or older? Or more towards Bumpy's age?
No, a bit older than me, 2-3 years older than I am. So I never, at that point, as a new mom, I was like, she's helpful, because otherwise I'm sure at some point I'd have to wake up in case Bumpy has gone to the gym or the likes. So I didn't mind and I didn't think anything of it. So I just enjoyed that. But now the thing is, on days that I told Bumpy my friends, now my circle was coming over to our house to visit the baby, Bumpy would ask this lady to leave. So she'd leave. My best friend would stay over the whole week, help around and all. And then after immediately my friend and my best friend leave, she's back. And back into the routine, back into doing whatever she was doing. So one day I asked Bumpy, okay, the baby's here, this lady's still here. You don't want to be intimate with me. You also don't want to be intimate with this lady. What's your deal? Bumpy's like, you know what? I actually, for a second, want us to start on a clean slate. And I'm like, what's your clean slate looking like? He's like, my clean slate looks like I want her to go. And I want this household to just have you, me, and my daughter. And I was happy. I'm like, finally, something that I'm okay with, comfortable with, something that is not me fixed in a specific cage. And that happened. But before Bumpy would tell this lady ask her to leave, because you just can't wake up and tell her, get up and leave. He said he'll handle it. So before that happened, I've been told we're starting on a clean slate. So it's this one specific Saturday. We've said it's going to be movie night. But I feel very tired, very sleepy. So I say I'll go to bed early. Sunday morning, I'm woken up by my daughter screaming. And I'm like, wow. I'm usually woken up by, if my daughter screams, one of them is Bumpy or the lady is waking me up to give me my daughter to breastfeed. None of that happened. And I'm like, maybe they're just watching a movie because it's Sunday morning. I go to the washroom. I go take water. I make some tea. And I'm like, hey, all these commotions, these people can't hear me. But I can hear the movie. It's like loud. So I go back. I breastfeed my daughter. And I change her and I put her down. So I go to the sitting room and I'm like, why can't you people hear me? Why haven't you heard your daughter crying? I open the door and it's this specific man that told me he wants everything in a clean slate, having sex with this woman on the mattress that's down there. I just walk in awe, look at him. I'm like, Bumpy, interesting. This is a clean slate. Nice to know. Close the door and go back, hold my daughter. I am crying. I'm angry. And I'm just like, you know what? It's okay. He came back a few minutes later and I asked him, what the hell was that? What's going on? You were supposed to be asking her to leave, not be deep inside her. What's going on? With a straight face, this man tells me, I was thinking with my lower head. I'm sorry. I was like, okay, interesting. I did not talk about it again, but I did not let that man touch me ever again. My sexual switch just went all off. The lights were out. I did not want him to touch me. I did not want him to sleep next to me. It got to a point I didn't want him to even hold our daughter. And I'd tell him, I feel like you're just a dirty man walking, that nothing you even pronounce with your mouth is actually what you want. And I'd be very specific. You said you want to start on a clean slate. Your clean slate doesn't look clean, but that's on you. And that lady left. After a while, he noticed that I actually don't want to be intimate with him. But one specific day, I was having wine because the doctor said I can have some. I was excited. 2 glasses in. We got intimate and I woke up and I immediately just felt a layer of disgust on me. And I just knew this is not something I wanted. I didn't talk about it. I just moved on. And I was like, let's just find it in us to forgive him and move on as well. And immediately after that, a week later, Bumpy was back to talking to his women, including the woman who just left the house. He's talking to her about his miserable being with me. He wishes that she was the wife because she seems more understanding. How I don't want even to be intimate with him and it's bothering him. How I'm nagging him and all. He had a lot of complaints. So I read them and every switch now in me started going off one by one. I was like, okay, emotionally disconnected, physically disconnected, anything. I was just going disconnected. So one day he wanted to be intimate with me and I told him I don't want. He got very, very mad. He pinned me on the wall. His hand is on my neck and he got intimate with me with like in that specific position.
Oh my God.
I just left, went showered and just moved on.
You mean he raped you?
Yeah, that's the word, right? And I was just like, okay. Next time he asked politely, can we be intimate? I'm like, no. Like, I honestly and genuinely don't want it. And I can see his frustration. He's like, now what do you want me to do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, now at this point, my anger and my calmness is, I just can't. I'm unable. So I tell him, you have so-and-so you can go to, you have so-and-so, you have so-and-so, and you have so-and-so. Why are you here? You complain to so-and-so and so-and-so about how nagging I am, how this and this and that. And since that's what they are, why not be with them? It's like, no, I want to be with you. But as usual, you're not a submissive person. You're not peaceful. And I'm like, and I won't be. If me being that means that you're allowed to talk ill about me, and everything, then no. And I'll storm out. He came, pulled my hair, slapped me, punched me, and I'm like, why? And then at the end, he pushed me towards the wall that I hit the corner of the wall. So I had my head was swollen. And he apologizes as usual. And I also apologize. And that was a cycle for 2-3 months. That's all we would do. I'd find out about a woman, he'd hit me, he'd apologize, we'd move on. Find out, hit me, apologize, move on. That's what we did. One specific time, I remember I now needed to go back to work because the money he had apparently measure. And now he's telling me, oh, we can't afford a nanny, we can't afford this. And I'm like, I cannot survive without that nanny. Because being this new mom is not easy. I need that help. You're not always home. So it's not going to work. He's like, it's okay. So he's like, you need to figure out then how we'll pay the nanny. And I'm like, it's okay, I'll go back to work. So I started calling up my clients and I'd ask them, do you want my services back? Do you want my services back? I got my schedule full and I was happy. So I started going back to work. Me going back to work was a bother to Bumpy. It's like, oh, now you want to emasculate me. And I'm like, no, I've not told you not to look for a job. I've not told you not to look for something. I'm just going back to what I was doing prior to pregnancy and giving birth. So he's like, no, but now it means you're earning more, you're providing for us. And I'm like, it's okay, I'll do that until you are able to come back and do that. And I left it at that. But now I came to notice one specific day he left and told me he's going to a wake with his best friend. A mutual friend of theirs had passed and they need to go. And I told him, it's okay. You need to leave. You've also been in the house with the baby. You've been hands-on a lot. Let me now bond with the baby. I specifically sent him money to go have coffee, have lunch, whatever he'll do with the boys. Because I know he's not been working and I'm the one who's earning in the house. And I used to do this a lot. It wasn't a bother for me. So once we did that, he left. And my intuition just told me, there's one specific lady we used to fight about a lot. My intuition just told me, I feel like he's with this lady. And the reason was because I asked him, communicate with me throughout, also just to get to know if I'm okay. I was like, you're leaving me with, the child was, I think, a few months. So I was like, you're leaving me with this child. Then the child is new to me. I'm also new to the child. I'm not used to it by now. He's like, it's okay. He gets there and communication goes off. No picking of calls, no replying text. And if a text it's replied, it's one word after 2-3 hours. And I was just like, this behavior seems familiar when it's with this specific person. I talked to a mutual friend we had with the lady I allegedly thought Bumpy had gone to see. And told this lady, I think Bumpy has gone to see so-and-so. And since you're closer to so-and-so, please just find out for me. You'll just have done me a solid one. Because I've been thinking of leaving this marriage and I'm just looking for strong reasons why. So this would be among them. She's like, sure, bet. She finds the information and she actually was sent a video of Bumpy in that woman's house, seated on her bed. I was sent. I saw it and I was like, okay, this is interesting. Kept quiet. Later on, as Bumpy told me, we finished with the boys, I'm on my way back. This lady that Bumpy was just from called me. She's like, your man was here and I can clearly see we are always having a back and forth because I've heard of you in the past and I'm hearing of you right now. And right now I'm hearing it in different dynamics. And I'm like, what are the dynamics? It's like, now my friend has told me you're married to him, you have his baby. And I'm like, yes. She even asked me, did you do anything to show you're married? I'm like, our parents met. His elders and my elders met. I feel like traditionally that's strong. It's like, okay, well, this is my man. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Also in her mind, that was her man.
Yeah. And I'm like, ask her why. And she tells me this is my man because we've gone to Diani together. We stayed in Airbnbs for days together. Where were you in those situations? And I'm like, when did you go to Diani? She's like, this day to this day. And I'm like, I was told he was at work. When did you go to the Airbnb? This day to this day. And I was like, I had gone to my mom's. Like, oh. So every time he was going out for travel, it was with this lady. And anytime I said I'm going to spend time with my mom or sleep over at my best friends or something, he was also with this lady, or she would come home to our house. Yeah. And I was perplexed. I could not understand. Bumpy came home. I could see that the clothes that Bumpy had are the same ones I was shown for a fact. I showed Bumpy what I had. Bumpy, but at the moment I was showing Bumpy the video of him in that woman's bed, he had changed because I was outside and hanging the clothes and our daughter was asleep. On coming back, he's changed because he was on a bike, so he's changed. So I was assuming maybe he felt cold, he needed to warm up. He came, he's changed, and I asked him, I show him, he's like, with a straight face, he told me, but that's not what I was wearing. I asked him, what do you mean? I saw you leaving and I've seen you come. I know what you were wearing. He hid the clothes because that lady had told him that I now know he was here. So he hid the clothes under the bed and took me till the laundry basket and showed me, here, I've not changed. I've just removed a hoodie, and he put another hoodie there. And he told me, but see, so you're always just being told something by other women and you're always believing it. And I'm like, on this one, no. This one is straight from my intuition and I'm not going to betray it. And then I told him that, and I'm like, if that's how you want to manipulate me, it's fine, but I know you're at this woman's house. And he goes ahead as telling me, we can call her. And I'm like, yes, take out your phone. Take out your phone. And I even have her number on my Truecaller. So I'll just search her name and I will call. And he slaps me. Not once, not twice, not thrice. It's just a series of slaps. And I'm like, why? I'm screaming at this point. The moment he hears me screaming, he closes the door and hides the keys. So I'm screaming. I'm like, why are you slapping me? He's like, because you're always letting other women tell you your insecurities have led us to this point. And I'm like, what insecurities? And he tells me, you're insecure about your new body, your tummy, you have stretch marks. And I'm like, so do the women you are with. There's no woman living here that does not have stretch marks. We grow. We are moving. We are evolving. We come with stretch marks. You also have stretch marks. So why? No, you're just jealous. You have a lot of insecurities. And I'm like, no, Bumpy.
Did you ever tell him that you have insecurities? Not that it matters, honestly, but like, did you?
I did. The first time I got my baby, I told him I'm not used to my new size.
And you're actually so petite. You're literally like a size 6, right? 6 or 8?
Actually, now I'm 10, 12.
Okay, yeah, but you're still very slim.
Tight.
Yeah.
So prior, I was 4'6". I was a size 4'6", and now I'm up to 10, 12. It's something I was not used to. I didn't know what to do with a curvy body.
I hope you know you look so good.
Yes,
Sophia.
now I do. Thank you very
look
much.
So like my dream body is a size 10. What?
So I didn't know what to do with a small waist and a bum and hip. I didn't know how to dress it. I didn't know where to begin. And for the longest part, it wasn't because, not that I didn't know, it's because my husband that was supposed to validate, or I feel was supposed to validate my after pregnancy body, did not. Instead, he really body shamed it. It was, your stretch marks don't look good. They're too dark. Your tummy is way too dark than the rest of your body. Oh, those clothes are now way too tight. You can't do this, you can't do that. It was always something I couldn't do. My body was never the right body. However, the women he complimented and chose to be with were bigger, way bigger, which didn't make sense. So in my head, for the longest time throughout that marriage, I always compared and tried to fit in to this specific woman Bumpy had gone to see. That's what I tried to do. Dress, talk, act, everything. I really tried to be that in my mind. Maybe he'll see me. He didn't. So this day he's hit me, he's closed the door. And I'm like, I just can't take this anymore, Bumpy. This is just way too much. It's always something. If I tell you about something you're doing, it's always me. I'm not a peaceful wife. I'm insecure. I'm listening to other people. And I'm like, no. So that day he hit me, it was the first time I told my best friend that Bumpy hit me. My best friend was like, was it the first time? It wasn't the first time, but I told her yes. I was so ashamed. I was filled with guilt, shame, and anger. My best friend is like, maybe talk to him and see what's going on. And I'm like, okay, let's try. So I Googled how to ask submissively talk to your husband so that he can just talk to me without the anger, without the heating. I went, spoke to him. He said something outrageous, of course, and I went crazy. I'm also talking back. He's hit me. Makia was hit last night. Today's another night. I'm being hit again. And I for the first time, I just told Bumpy that, honestly, Bumpy, eventually, we are going to get divorced. He's like, no, you have a child of this compound. You will never leave this compound. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I asked him, what happens to the children of that you sire that are from this family and this compound? And I was like, your other child is your child.
Oh, yes, there was the lady with the birth certificate. So it was his child?
It was his child.
And you knew this?
Yes.
Okay. So
she did a DNA test that I paid for.
Oh, my God.
So she was pregnant, yes. And the other...
Did his mom know?
No.
Okay.
There was also the baby mama. So I was like...
Oh, yes.
You've been having children and they're not in this compound. And I feel like the moment they're not in this compound, they're suddenly doing well. So what again are you going to be telling me? He went crazy. He punched me. At this moment, I was punched in my ribs and I could feel I'm not breathing. And I could feel like I'm tasting blood in my mouth. And I'm like, what's going on? By the time I'm processing this, he slapped me. He's pulled my hair. He's banged me on the wall. I can hear my daughter scream and I'm like, Bumpy, our daughter is screaming because you're making me scream. Have some decency. And he's like, I don't care. I really don't care. You're here disrespecting me, disrespecting this household, disrespecting our marriage just because of some women. And I'm like, wow. It was never him. He was never at fault. It was always me. And I was hit. And by the time he was going to now get my daughter because she was crying, I was not bleeding. My eyelid had swollen because I had banged myself on the wall. My rib felt like it was broken because I could taste blood in my mouth. Like I had blood in my mouth. And I just sat down where he left me and I was crying and I was asking myself honestly, why? 2 days went by, I couldn't go to work. How am I going to explain to my clients, why is my lip busted? Why is my nose swollen? Why is my eyelid? I don't have an explanation. Plus, I'd been lying so many times to my clients about the bruises I have. It now felt like my clients are just going to suspect me now. I stayed home for a week. I lost clients during that week because they could not understand the inconsistency. I couldn't tell them of the inconsistency. There are some clients that are really concerned and really called and could not hang up until I told them the truth. They would tell me, it's okay, I'll call you later when your husband is not around. And I want you to tell me what's going on.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Whew.
And I had 2 clients that were like, you know what? It's okay, I'll give you this month off. And it was under the condition, you need to leave. I want by the next month, you're done and you've left. And I'm like, okay. I was like, okay. I told my best friend of now everything. One day I just sat down and I told her of the 3 Psalms, of all the heating and everything. And she's like, you can't do this. You have a daughter. It can't go on. And I was like, yes. But every time I said yes, it's true, it can't go on, I still stayed in that marriage. It made no sense. That day I was hit. Week 1, I'm not going to work. after that, it got to a point where he would not allow me to leave the compound with my daughter. Whether I'm going to the shop, no. It got to a point, if he wanted to talk to me and he thought the conversation would get heated, he'd take our daughter to the mom to hold our daughter. And it was crazy. He'd come home, Bumpy would come to the house, we'd talk. He'd hit me. I had to be hit and then go back to his mom, take my daughter as though I've not been hit. This is okay. We were just talking. It was normal marital stuff. And go back to the house, now breastfeed my daughter while crying. So after some time, I got a nanny, of course. One day, my nanny is there. And a few weeks after my nanny was home, I had lost my phone visiting my best friend. It was snatched by one of the Buddha guys. So I'm using a kabambe, the small button phone that we always use. And I think somebody, probably a wrong number, texted me, "Hi dear." And there were very many hi dears like under that number. It wasn't a saved number because I didn't know who it was. So he saw it. I'm in the shower. He's opened the door. He's like, "Oh, these people who are texting you, hi dear, are the ones that are making you here always question me. And these women that I'm always telling you there's nothing to worry about. Is this the reason? They wouldn't even text you anything decent in this time." I'm like, what are you even talking about? What's hi dear? Or who's texted that? I don't know anything about it. He tells me there's a number here that has texted you hi dear so many times. And I'm like, I have nothing to do with that. I don't know who that is. Because I have nobody who texts me hi dear. And he doesn't believe me. He yanks me out of the bathroom. And he's like, "You need to explain this hi dear. Is this the reason why you'd sit down and tell me you want to get divorced and eventually we will?" I'm like, no, the reason we get divorced is because of you, your anger, and you constantly hitting me. He's like, "Yeah, if you are peaceful and if you are submissive, I wouldn't need to be hitting you. You have anger issues." And I'm like, okay. I just said, okay. He got mad. He started hitting me. I'm wrapped in a towel at that time. He's hit me. He's thrown the kabambe towards my face. He's like, "You and this are my ideas. These are your options." And I'm like, I have no options. Honestly, there's nothing I'm doing wrong. And I don't know the idea who it was. And I'm apologizing. I'm sorry if it offended you. At that time, I don't even know who it is. I don't even know what he's talking about. That went. We slept. I woke up. I'm not going to work. I'm weak too. No work. My nanny has come. I've already started weaning my baby. And my nanny asks, "Mama so-and-so, mtoto atakula nini?" And I'm like, can do pumpkin, this and that for like asubuhi, and then try something else. Try some porridge, like I've just explained. And then Bumpy comes from the bedroom. He's like, "You, Madam, hi dear." And I'm like, what? And I'm like, you need to let that go because I have no idea who that is. And he pulls me from where I was seated and pins me to the wall and slaps me and punches my tummy. Where he's holding me, I bit his hand for him to let go. And I rushed out and I was screaming in the compound. He immediately took our daughter to the mom like he always does. And I'm like, you know what? I want to leave. I actually want to leave today. I want to leave this marriage. I'm done. And he's like, you can go, but leave my daughter. And I'm looking at him. The daughter he's saying for me to leave is 4 months old. 4.5 at most. So I'm asking him, leave my daughter, how? She's a breastfeeding baby. You don't even breastfeed. You pump that milk and you go to work and meet those people who write text messages for you like saying, "Hi dear." And I'm like, are you going to base this whole conversation on "hi dear" from somebody I don't know? And like, those are your options. I don't care. You want to leave? Go. Leave my child. And I'm like, I just pushed through him. I went upstairs and to the mom and was trying to take my daughter. As I was trying to take my daughter from my mom-in-law, I would see her turn around for me not to access my daughter and take her from her arms. And I just looked at her and I asked, are you turning so that I don't take my daughter? Like, no, you're angry. And I'm like, what does that anger have to do with my child? This is my child. I gave birth to this child. I want to leave this marriage and I want to live with my child. Eventually, Bumpy's brother came in and I was not allowed to take the child. After all, I was only allowed to breastfeed her, and on breastfeeding, they all stood there as I breastfed until she fell asleep. At this point, I have just texted my best friend what has just happened. My best friend is like, I can't take this anymore. You're hurt, I'm not okay, and I'm afraid you're going to die. She texted my mom. She called my mom and told her everything, from the threesomes to me being hit to everything. My mother called me boiling. And I told my mom, it's okay, let me just come home. I'll come to you, don't come. I left. I went to my mom's house. I'm crying. My mom is not understanding. She's like, Mom, you're too beautiful to be going through this. I'm crying. I'm trying to understand. When did it get to this point? Like, when did I even let it get to this point? And it was crazy. My mom is like, no, you need to leave. Sat down and told my mom, I want 2 weeks and I'll have left. She asked me what's going to happen in 2 weeks. She's like, I won't tell you. In 2 weeks, I'm going to come back and I'm coming back with my daughter. She's like, okay, you go back home. I went home. This man refused to open the door for me. Completely. Until the mom had to come down to see what the commotion is about at the gate. And I'm like, he refuses me to enter the house. Bumpy's mom tells me that what you did was not right, Sophia. And I'm like, what do you mean? You people stood there as I breastfed my child, a child that I gave birth to. You people stood there and let me not take my child after I've told you I want to leave this marriage with my child. And all of you told me that I can't. So what did I do wrong? I just left and went to my mom. The same way your son, Bumpy, leaves and comes to you. So what's the problem? She's like, makes sense. I entered. Bumpy's dad now is on the phone. I'm being told of how disrespectful I am and how I should learn to live with Bumpy. And I just told him immediately, no. Before you take a phone, call me and tell me I'm being disrespectful. Ask your boy what he specifically did. Ask for the real story, not this surface story that he tells you that tumejibishana, we've had an argument. No. Tell him to tell you exactly what he did. And he's like, he's told me. And I'm like, if he told you, I don't think you'd be telling me I'm disrespectful. And I specifically told the dad, I want to leave this compound. Same way I came, I have free will to live with my child. The dad does not live within a country. He lives in another country, works there. So he's like, you are not allowed to leave that house until I come back. He wants to come back in another 3 weeks. That's all. The only time he's allowed to take an off. In my head, I'm like, no. On the phone call, I said, that's okay. I'll wait. My mom has called my uncles that played the role of my dad, told them of the ordeal. My one specific uncle called Bumpy and he's like, you know what? This thing is going to get to cop level real fast. So you either need to figure it out with Sophia or the cops are going to get involved. This also uncle calls me and tells me, just work it out. And I'm like, there's nothing workable here. This man is just insane. Bumpy hears and sees that actually this thing has hit the fan. So we've gone to this store, we are talking, and he's calmed down. He wants to reason. And he now asks me, do you want your mom to take me to the cops? And I'm like, yeah. Yes, I do. Because you, your mom, your dad, your brother, everyone is okay with how you act. Everyone does not see as though you are on the wrong. Instead, it's me who's on the wrong. And everyone is just siding with you. It feels like I'm alone in this compound. And it's not going to work. So he's like, what if we find a way where we can work these things out? And I'm like, you've had so many chances where you actually would have worked on this thing and it would have worked. But now, I don't know. And he's like, I'll fight for this marriage. I'll fight for my daughter. I don't want to raise another daughter outside of marriage. And I'm like, I just told him, you have a very weird way of showing that you don't want to raise your children outside of marriage. A very weird way. And that conversation just ended there. Because he would see, like, he's talking to a different person, a person who is thinking on their own, not what he was used to, and a person who is okay reporting their husband and the father of their child. So we go to the house. He's seeming nicer. He's made dinner, or rather he's making dinner. He's asking me, do I bring the child? Do you want to breastfeed? Do you want some time out? The likes. And I'm just like, no, just give me my child. I'll be fine. At this point, I feel like even the food he's serving me, he's about to poison me. It just feels off because he's from hitting me and not allowing me to enter the house to now being nice. It makes no sense. And it got to a point that same night, my mom and his mom had to come to our house to talk to us because, again, the arguments had started. The heating was again there.
At night?
Yes. So my mom came and it was late. I think it was midnight. I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, you need to come now. And Mama Bumpy, as usual, is like, this is marriage. It's the first year. It's going to be bumpy, of course, and it's going to be rough. They just need to figure out a few things. She's also explaining that even her, she had to persevere some few things in marriage to be happy. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, that's not how it goes. Why is it that specifically when you leave a situation that's not working for you, especially if it's marriage, suddenly it's not good. It's because you're newlyweds. You're going to get over it. Why? Why do I need to go through it at all? Is what I asked. And my mom was also like, no, if she wants to leave, she wants to leave because that's what she wants. And then at that point when our parents were talking, my mom started to side with Mama Bumpy. I was looking at my mom like, Mom, what the hell are you doing? Why are you siding with her? And she just tapped me to chill. So the moment she tapped me, I just knew maybe she had a plan. So I just trusted her. So they've talked, they've convinced me that let's work through this and all. And that's the narrative that was left in that room, that we're all going to
persevere.
You see. And then my mom was like, when I get home, I'll call you. And Bumpy actually escorted my mom till her house because she didn't live far away from us. And my mom got home, and as Bumpy was on the way back, she called and she was like, Mom, don't listen to any of that shit I just said right there. Just know that if you say we are leaving tomorrow, I'm there. I don't care. I'm there. I just wanted her to stop talking and for her to stop making you feel like you're the problem or marriages have to be like this. And I was like, phew, because I thought for a minute you're siding with these people. Just like, of course I wouldn't. And that was that. So my mom now waited for me. My best friend waited eagerly for the day that I texted her, I've left, honestly. And we didn't speak all through, like the 2 weeks we didn't speak until the day that I left that I texted her. So after my mom has told me that, I'm now calm. I've now gone back to the house. Bumpy has come back and is like, I'm sorry that this is what it had to get to. Let's figure it out. And I just look at it and I'm like, okay. I take my child, I go to bed. He didn't sleep on the bed that day. He slept on the sitting room. The morning I woke up and I was just like, let me ask why he slept here. And he's like, I feel like our matrimonial bed should be just for us when we are happy. Because we are not happy, we are not in good terms, there's no need. And I was like, oh, okay. My nanny came again. I received her well. She came. My daughter at this point has now started to recognize her. So she sees the nanny and she's all now bubbly and all. And that day again, still not going to work. So I'm still healing from my wounds. But the face wounds that I had have healed. Now my rib is on, that's a bit painful. You can see I'm struggling to sit or stand up and the likes. So my nanny comes, she asks me what to make for the daughter, what I would want to eat. She serves me. She never served my hubby. So she would now ask me, Mama Nani, serve Baba Nani? I'm like, sure. I get up, serve, like that. So on this time, he received a phone call from a lady because he put it on speaker. And the conversation did not go as he expected to because he was trying to build a slate of transparency. But that lady sounded as though that there was like a hidden agenda they were talking about. So after the phone call, he was seated trying to explain to me why it sounded odd. And I was like, okay. Then he'd leave my phone. He'd always tell me to go through his phone. It became like almost daily. Just go through my phone. Don't assume I'm texting people, like things like that. So I never did when he said I should. So one day I went through his WhatsApp and I'm like, it's too clean. I think I was so used to him doing something. So it was too clean. And I was like, oh, maybe he has actually just learned his lesson. So I just started maybe getting into the idea of he's learned his lesson. We're still in week 1 of me saying, remember I said I want 2 weeks, then I'll leave. So this is week 1, it's about to end. My mom is calling. She's like, pass by, we just do a check-in. I told my mom, I went through his phone and it's too clean. My mom is like, maybe he's learning or something, but don't change your mind. And I'm like, Mom, me knowing him, let's just give him a few more days. Something will just come up, me knowing him. It's like, why are you so sure? I'm like, you just wait. Once it happens, I'll tell you. Week 1 has ended. Now we're in week 2 before it ends. So we're in, say, day 8, day 9. I take his phone. He's on the rooftop with my daughter. They're sunbasking. He calls out from the rooftop and is like, bring my phone. I'm like, okay. I hadn't checked his phone since that day. So it's been like about 3-4 days. I check his phone and I see this. Now WhatsApp business. I'm like, why would WhatsApp business be here? All the conversations with the women have left from WhatsApp to WhatsApp business. And of course, the girl that was in our household, the conversation is there. And other women. And you can see there are video calls that last like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And you can tell only on days that maybe I'm not in the house. And they're there, but they've been erased. Like the call log is not been erased, but the conversations have. So I noticed the phone is also on airplane mode. So I turned it back on, connected it to Wi-Fi, and messages started coming in. He's like, hi, how's last night? How did you sleep? Like now conversations. Like these were people, they were talking last night and now today. Now this is a new day. I've started again. And I was like, yes, I just knew. I just knew it would get there. I went up and I gave him the phone just as the screen is on for him to see that I've seen the conversation and the call logs. After a few minutes, he follows me down and he's starting to explain. And I just told him, Bumpy, this is just a cycle where this is what you do. So you do this, apologize, then do this. That's a cycle you have. That's the same cycle you've been having with your previous baby mama. That's not how it works. I just told him that. And I told him, people survive as being baby mamas and being single moms. That's it works. People are doing it and they're doing it perfectly. And he's like, oh, so now you want to be a single mom? I'm like, I'd rather that than one day you're good. One day we've sat down with our parents. We have a plan. 2 days, 3 days later, you're now back to talking to the women. What's that? So you think because you're not talking to them on WhatsApp, talking to them on another, like WhatsApp business is any different? And he's like, no, these women just text. I'm like, really? Someone who has just highlighted a previous conversation that you have deleted are women who have just texted. And video calls, how about the video call of yesterday? And if you look at the timestamp, it's like, this time I was at my mom's place. So what is that trying to indicate? I just told him, Bumpy, at this point, I'm not dumb. I can see and I'm reading in between the lines. So just stop. he got mad because I'm not listening to his excuse and I'm refusing to listen and to understand. My daughter was asleep as he held her. She just went, put my daughter to bed. And he came back and he's raising his voice. And I'm like, just put the child to sleep. Don't you think you'll wake her up? He lowers his voice. He took a mug and threw it to the ceiling because he was mad I was not listening to him. I told him, it's okay. This is what you always do. You break, punch, do something, hit me. So there's nothing new in your cycle. That's how used to it I was. So I just knew. Argue with him. He punched something, break something, hit me, apologize. That was my daily cycle with him. So on this time, I even wanted him to hit me so that I could live there and go write a P. It's called a P3 or P2. That's what I wanted. And he did hit me, and to a point where he scratched my thigh. I told my mom, let's go write a P3. It was a holiday. Went, we wrote the P3. My mom had to go with that letter because if I went with it, of course, another war would have come. So she went with it. And my mom all along was just asking me, you are that sure of him? And I'm like, yes, I was that sure that something would come up, especially if it includes women. It definitely will. We went home, or rather I went home. My mom went back to her house. So he asked me, oh, you were gone so long, where were you? And I'm just like, no, I just went somewhere to get somewhere and as I drink some milkshake. So I'm back. That's just all I needed. And he's like, oh yeah, okay. So since he still felt like I was not understanding him or I didn't listen to his excuse as to why he was having conversations with women, he now wanted to bring it up again. And I'm like, I thought we already talked about this. And I just told him, we talked about it. You hit me about it. What more emphasis do you want? And then he just kept quiet. And he switched on the TV and that conversation ended. And then this one specific time, I had 3 days left to my 2 weeks. My nanny came again just in the morning, her normal routine. I've given her my daughter. I've changed her. I've done what I should. I wanted to go to work. So I go to work and I come back. I come back and I realize that he's still in the house. He was supposed to go for some job interview and to do some online interviews as well. He's still in the house. I asked him about it. He's like, no, I didn't go. I didn't feel like it was worthwhile. And I'm like, you're not earning any money. I'm going to work. On top of going to work, I have to miss some days because you've hit me so bad. Why wouldn't you just decide to help? And then I went on and told him, with the other women, you're always buying them stuff. You're always going out for coffee. Where do you get that money? Because I don't see it in this house. Even in this house, you're always broke. And I'm always providing for everything. And he's like, oh, so what does that mean? I'm like, it means exactly that. It means your money, whenever you get your money, it goes to other women. And I knew for a fact there's one of the women he used to see that used to give him money. So I was asking him, and how come you're given money by so-and-so and you never come back to this house? Where are you taking it? Or are you using that money to take another woman out for coffee and the likes? And he's like, you're so disrespectful. You have no respect for me as your husband. And I'm like, neither do you. You have no respect for me as a wife. You're disrespectful to me, disrespectful to the women you're talking to. Honestly, at this point, I don't even think you should address anything about respect. He kept quiet. I went to the bedroom. Now late at night, we are now talking about it. I don't talk about it. I said what I said. He feels like he needs to talk about it. He raises his voice 1 minute. It goes higher and higher. 1 minute, he's about to hit me with a stool. The next minute, he's now strangling me. And I'm strangled in the position that I cannot fight. He sat on my feet so that I can't push him. And his hands are around my neck to a point where I saw white and knew I was going to pass out. I stopped fighting and just stayed still. And under my voice, I was just like, you know what? I hope my daughter is okay. And I hope she's going to be okay. I accepted that I was going to die. And I accepted that the man that I once loved is the one who's going to kill me. I was okay with that. I was okay not fighting. And he let go at a point where I felt death. Vizuri, like I felt death completely. I could describe it. I could taste it. Like that's how real it was. And he took that stool, and as he was about to hit me after letting go from strangling me, he banged it on the floor. It woke up his mom. His mom came. She's trying to listen to us, and I just told Mama Bumpy, I need to leave your son. I need to leave. And the mom could not understand because she's never heard me saying that in the power that I said it. I told my best friend what happened. I told my mom. And my mom is like, you're going to die. I'm going to lose you there. And I'm like, Mom, I have 3 days left, but I'm going to be coming earlier than I thought. And that happened to the weekend. That happened. Sunday came. Monday, I was always off on Mondays. I pretended I had a new client that was just within where we lived. And then I dressed up, carried my bag like I'm going to work. My mom was ready, my uncles were ready, my auntie was ready. Went to the cops. And I told the cops that I want to leave an abusive marriage. But my husband, the mom, would not let me. And they would not let me live with my child. The lady I was talking to asked me, how old was your child? I told them my child was 5 months. They were like, in shock. They're like, what would he be doing with a 5-month-old? I'm like, I also don't know. And that was that. I was told to come back on Tuesday. But that Tuesday, they were going somewhere. All of them, the whole cop station, they were going to another neighboring county for something. So I wouldn't find someone, especially in the children's services, who are going to help me. So I was told to come back on Wednesday. I couldn't go back home because now the cop has now called Bumpy and told them of what's now happening. So Bumpy is at home with my daughter and my nanny, alone. I am afraid. I don't know what he'll do to my daughter. I don't know what he'll do to the nanny. The nanny called me and told me she's about to leave and I'm not yet home. And I told her to pass by my mom's because she knew where my mom lived. She'd seen me being beaten. She knew exactly what was going on. So I told her, you just continue going until the day I will come with cops to take my daughter's things, my things, and we go. So I had told her to ensure that all my daughter's things are always clean and like kept vizuri, just in case anything happens, it's just going. She's like, sure. And now she'd update me. She'd get home and then she'd tell me, my baby is fine. Of course, she's fussy because she's not breastfed. Me on my end, my boobs are solid rock because I'm still breastfeeding. I left with nothing, not a pump, not anything. So they are like hard. And I was constantly crying because I'm worried for my daughter. I'm also worried for my own self because I don't know what he's going to do at this point. So we are summoned. We are there Wednesday morning. We go and our parents are outside and we have to enter a specific room and we are talking. And for some reason, the gentleman who was listening to our case just said, nyinyi, watu wawili kwa blanketi mkishikana, yenyu ni mapenzi tu mtarudiana. Like that man just said, you two have been together. People who sleep on the same bed, you never know anything about them. You're just young and you just seem like you're in love. So this is just a rough patch, you'll get back together.
This is a cop.
Yes. And I just told the cop, that's okay. Until that day, that's fine. For now, we are here. This is what I want. So he's trying to listen to our stories because that's how it goes. He speaks, I speak. He speaks, I speak. And all through, I can just hear him saying, oh, it's because I don't want to listen. I'm refusing to be submissive. I don't want to be peaceful. It's because of my insecurities. But Ati, overall, I'm just in love with him, and this is just a rough patch. That's what he says, not bumpy. And I agree. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay. So I asked him, all those times you hit me, it's because you loved me, right? All those times you left our home with knowing that you're supposed to be somewhere, trying to get a job, doing something, but instead you're in a woman's house. That was also because you loved me. I asked him, all those times you were talking ill about me to another woman to gain their favor, I'm guessing that's also because you loved me. Every time you did not acknowledge that I had your child and acknowledge your child, it's also because you loved her way too much, right? So I just told the gentleman, the cop, our child is 5 months. I want to leave him and I want to live with my child. And I think for a moment he just saw how done I was, because I was not arguing about anything. I was just like, it's okay. So he agreed. I was given my child. There was a form that had to be signed that I was primary custodian. I had 100% custody of my child. And there was somewhere else that needed to be signed that he also has 100% access to his child. So if he wants to come visit and all that, that's fine. But he specifically told me he wants nothing to do with the child. And I said, it's okay. Either way, I want it written there and we'll sign so that in case of anything, we'll refer to that specific document. Let it not be said, I refuse you to come see your child. We went home to his house. With a very big lorry, I took my clothes. I was so done to a point. All the furniture I brought from my small bedsitter, I didn't want any of them. I just took a specific shelf that I loved. And I packed everything and I left. My clothes, my baby's clothes. The rest that I left, I was just like, I'll buy others. And we left and we kept quiet. Yes, and 3-4 months later, we got in touch. The reason we got in touch is because of me. I actually called him because he had documents that we forgot to take, the birth notification of my daughter that I forgot to carry on the day I was leaving, which I looked for in the house when I moved back in with my mom, and I couldn't find them. And then later on, I found out that they're actually there. It's only that my mom put them somewhere different. He asked to come see his daughter. And I was like, just like when we left the cop station, you have access to your daughter. I even asked him, do you want to come see her now? Because I'm off today. And he's like, yes. So he came, gave him directions to where we live now. And he came. My daughter could not recognize his dad at all. The dad was so excited to see the daughter. And the daughter saw him and cried at the top of her lungs. And I had to take her back, and I'm like, you can't take her with all that excitement. She's going to be scared. She doesn't know you. She's not familiar with you. He was like, okay. But this man tried. He tried to rekindle what he had with the daughter. But of course, it wasn't happening as fast as he wanted. And then on that day that he came, I noticed my daughter fell ill. She got a very high fever. Okay, she had the fever, but I just assumed maybe it's the change of climate. So I had told him, she's not been feeling well, so don't take how she's acting offensively. She just might be what she's feeling. They bonded in the car, but I had to sit in the car with my daughter because she kept looking behind just to confirm that I was there. And she was okay. He also kept asking, how are you? And I'm like, I'm good. I had to remind him, remember you're here because of the child. Don't bother about how I am. As you can see, I'm fine, right? Good. And then later on, he's like, let's just keep tabs. Then we can try and talk about co-parenting. And I was like, cool. So this one specific day, it was at night, I just texted, your daughter is really unwell. Do you mind picking us up tomorrow morning so that you can take her to hospital? He was like, okay. He came, picked us up. We went to hospital. She had a bacterial infection. So the type of medicine that they needed to give my daughter was injections, and we had to go there for 3 days in a row. It means I had to see this man 3 days consecutively. Would sit in the car like total strangers, just him playing with the daughter on his lap, driving like that. Then fast forward to when it was my daughter's birthday. We're still co-parenting. I had booked birthday photo shoot sessions with my daughter. And I remembered, how about I asked the dad to join in so that once she grows up, she'll have like memories and see that he was in photos and all. So for me, it was just being considerate. And then he came, we had the shoot. And then after, he said he wants to spend the day with the daughter. And I was like, cool. Because the following day was the party. So I had to go buy a few stuff. So I was like, this will take something off my plate. And he's like, before you give me the daughter, how about we first go for lunch, all of us as a family, since it's her birthday? And I'm like, sure. We're there, we've ordered food, and he's like, you know what? I want us to talk. I'm just like, you always have an agenda. Of course, you wouldn't want to have lunch as a family and just be quiet. Like, no, I just want to talk about something. And he's like, it's been so and so months we've been apart. During this month, I've had a lot of self-reflect and talking to you and seeing how my daughter is doing. I don't want to be in her life. And I'm like, that's why we're co-parenting. That's why we are figuring it out. Long story short, we did not come to an agreement. And at the end of that conversation, his specific words were, if that's the case, if we're not going to be getting back together, now or in future, I don't want anything to do with your child. And if anybody asks me, you no longer exist to me, you and your daughter. And I was like, okay. And that has been that. So since then, I have been figuring out parenting as a single mom, which has been amazing. And yeah.
Wow. I'm even speechless. Wow. 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 I don't even know, man. Sophia. So let me just ask, in your perspective, as an obvious victim of domestic violence, and I'm asking this question, I know it might be a bit controversial, but I want to ask because we know statistically that women who are in abusive relationships, it takes something like, the average is something like 7 or 8 times of leaving before they finally leave. And this is an average, meaning it could be 15 or it could be less than that.
Yeah.
So in your mind, going back to the state of mind you were at when the beatings would happen, what was making you stay? Was it a hope? Was it still love for this man? Was it almost like a shock? Like, what is the psychology of somebody in that situation?
Mine was both hope and love. And truth be told, was the validation. Not having a dad for the longest time, I wanted that manly validation. And I didn't know how much I needed it until I was in that situation. It mattered to me that he chose me. I wanted him to choose me. I wanted him to see me. I wanted him to pick me and say it's me. So with that in mind, and me loving him endlessly, and hoping that one day it's going to be me, it made me stay.
And right now, looking at everything you've been through, when you look at your daughter, because now she's also going to be raised by a single mom, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But you've just said there's almost a gap that a male figure had never filled in your life. And so when this first man comes at a very tender age of 20, you take to it and you end up doing things that you have. I mean, listen, if you want to have a threesome, have a threesome. I have friends who do that shit and I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Good, cool story. But the fact that you're in a situation where you don't want to be just because you're trying to appease someone, I mean, and that is very intimate. And then the fact that he had his way with you forcefully and you're still like, okay, maybe. So maybe you don't have the answer for this, but like, what are some of the things that go through your head when you think about your child?
Now that I've seen it now with my daughter, being there and the validation I needed and what I went through to get that validation, I know that what I would have wanted not to end up in such a situation would be validation from home. My uncles, now that I'm older, are able to have conversations with me. So I'd feel validated. I'd date somebody and check with my uncle because we're at that level. I just wish such conversations started when I was younger. Because honestly, if they did, and if they were that actively present as they are now, situations would have been different. So knowing that and seeing how important it was, and as much as parenting is trial and error, I'll still try validating the same with my daughter to a point where validation is never something that would get her into a situation, ever. So I'd validate the way she walks, the way she talks. I'd correct it as well. I'd correct things that she does that maybe are not aligning with her, to a point where she is secure in herself. That it doesn't ring that I need somebody else to tell me this. She's just so secure and firm in herself that she knows that she is it. That's the one thing that I would do.
If there is a woman right now who's listening to this who is in a similar situation, what would you tell her?
That respectfully, it doesn't get better. I know they all say, oh, they change, oh, this happens. No. It does not get better. I've not had 2-3 stories that have gotten better. In fact, it gets worse. So if they hit you once, trust me, it will happen again, and then it will be more intense, and then the apology will be greater than the offense. And then it goes like that. So if this bouquet of sorry was small, the next one will be big and then bigger. That's how it goes. Until the next moment, it's roses on your casket. Yeah.
And I do want to also point out that it's usually the most dangerous for the woman when she decides to leave.
Yeah.
So publicly declaring it to this person is probably not the best way to do it, like you did. And I'm only saying this for anyone who is listening, man or woman.
Yes.
Because, it could go either way.
Yes.
I feel wrong for asking this, but I have to ask, are there lessons, takeaways, things looking back that you're like, some flags you might have missed, because usually I ask, do you think there are things that you might have done by action or omission that contributed to the chaos that was your relationship? Are you in a position to answer that?
Yes. Are there flags I missed? Big ones. They were red, bright red, scarlet red that I didn't see. Why? Again, the validation. The validation, and the thing that's always missing from home is the one that you'll never see. And that, in my case, that's exactly that. So I learned to always check. There's always a reason. There's never, I'm sorry, they always know what they're doing. That's the one thing I know for a fact. The other thing would be, if they show you who they are, believe them. I know it's a phrase we always say, but that's just in plain words what it means. If they hit you the first time, that's who they are. Don't wait for the second, don't wait for the sorry. That's exactly who they are. Because there's nothing you can do as a grown person that is not workable, that is not detachable, and there's nothing that can be done that you cannot walk away from. So yeah, the things I learned from it is, I think they're more intimidated when they know of your value. So they will try and minimize and dim you from seeing your value because they know it and they're afraid of it. So
they're afraid that you will know it too.
Yes, and you will tap into it and you will grow from it. And so if they dim that, you go less. So that's what they did. And now I know I only will want the people who see the value. I want you to tap into a value that I doubted, and that's when it's going to work. Yeah.
What hope do you have for your future and even your daughter's future?
Yeah.
And where would you say you are right now in in relation to everything that you went through at such a young age?
I'm at a good space now. I'm able to talk about it without crying, at least. I'm also at a space where I also know I will not fully blame my partner for what happened. I had a role to play as well. I will now work on things that I know were genuinely not correct, not the ones that I was told are not correct because they wanted to get their way. What I see for myself in the future, I'm guessing relationship-wise.
No, anything wise. Personal development wise, yes. Relationship, career. Where do you want to be? What are some of your things that you're like, you know what, that would be nice?
I'll start with the relationship. For once, I'd want a relationship where you're not asking at all. I know it sounds cliche because your partner is not supposed to read your mind, I know. But I'd want a partner that is so in sync with me that they would know exactly what I need. And I'm also so in sync with them that I would know what to say, what to build, and what to correct. A partner that's gentle as well. And for once, because I'm always saying this, a partner that provides. For once, I'd also just want to sit and see a man being in their role and not me being always in my masculine air. Yeah. Mentally, I'm pretty good, which is amazing considering what I went through. I'm not at 100. I have my scares a lot. Like, for example, if we are talking with you and you're a man and you raise your hand, maybe to even point something or to remove something from my hair, I will flinch automatically because I'm just assuming you're about to hit me. So I'm doing very well mentally. It's improving day by day. Career-wise, it's also going very well.
I'm happy for you.
Very well. With the services that I give, beautiful things are happening. So a lot of growth that I did not assume would happen in this short time that they did. I think I had planned that career-wise a bit much far away, but they have happened faster than I would have expected, which is good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe some big sister advice.
Yeah.
The thing with advice, listen, you can choose to take it or not take it. And when I give advice, it's from my own personal experience, which is very different from yours.
Yeah.
The first thing that you said, where you said you would yearn for a partner who knows what you want, and you know what they're wanting. You're so in sync.
But also, let me add, I also want my partner to know that they're not a necessity.
Yes.
They're not a necessity. You're just an add-on.
It's for you to know. It's not for them.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll tell you that's a for you.
Yes.
It's a for you thing,
Yeah.
but it's also beautiful. I mean, at the end of the day, we push for this individualism within relationships.
Yes.
But the reality of it is there's a healthy form of codependency.
Yes.
It's okay to need someone, but not to your detriment.
Yeah.
You need them because they make you happy and they've built you. Like I really need you in my life.
Yeah.
But if it starts to go shit, you still have the wherewithal to be like, this is not for me and I can't leave.
Yeah.
I think sometimes there's this messaging I see online and you don't need anyone. No man is an island.
Yeah.
And even me in a relationship, I want to be needed. I want my partner to be like, baby, I need you. I love you so much, Yeah. So it's okay. But then you also, like I said, everything in life has a flip side.
Yeah.
Anything too excessive, even the good stuff has a flip side. So back to what I was saying, those aspirations to have that kind of connection, I understand, but I'd dissuade you from looking at that as a goal because it might put you in situations again where you are
back to what I was.
Yeah, or maybe just maybe you get it and then you start to turn a blind eye to stuff because you think, but it's that magical thing where they know what I'm thinking and I know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
No. Relationships are, everything in relationships is about communication, whether it's money, whether it's sex, whether it's children. So if somebody can preempt your needs from time to time, that's going to be nice. But when they don't, it doesn't mean that the relationship is not working. There's opportunity. Yes, there's opportunity to talk. So I just wanted to say that.
That's true.
Because I do wish you all the best.
Thank you very
and
much.
I want you to find the love that you deserve. A kind of love that we only dream for. A kind of love that your daughter can see and also nourish from. A love that will build you and make you feel like life is just a little bit better because you're around.
True.
Yeah? So thank you so much, Sophia, for being bold enough to share this story. It really does mean a lot. And I think you're gonna be all right. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Do you do therapy?
Yes.
Good.
Ish.
Ish.
I'm not consistent, but
It's all right, but you've kind of been there. It might help to kind of treat some of those dad wounds.
Yeah.
But I don't know if therapy is always the answer. Sometimes you don't need, sometimes you just need a really good book and a good support system. Do you understand?
Yes.
But if you can focus on, if you're able to identify that that's where the lack is, it might help.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, leave a review, and consider supporting us via our till number or PayPal. All the details are in the show notes of this episode and on our Instagram page bio at SoThisIsLove_podcast. Your contribution will help us keep going. If you would like to be a part of this podcast, you can also reach out to us via direct message on our Instagram page. This is Jules. See you next time. Hello, everybody.